like there's no tomorrow.
Welcome to the BingKing podcast. Okay, how's everyone doing? I have Dion and David here with me. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Very well, thank you.
And we want to talk about, I don't know, what were we gonna call this? Not the downfall of EDH. We are just playing less EDH in general.
I had a name for it.
Oh yeah?
EDH, too big to fail.
Too big to fail. Too big to fail is not bad.
Like Enron.
Exactly. Like Wizards can't stop pumping the format because
That's
it's
actually very
everything
true.
there, right?
Yeah, it is too big to fail at the moment. I don't think it's gonna always be this way. I
So
think people are leaving.
yeah. So a lot of things. It's like, is it a pendulum that's going to swing back? That people are going to stop playing EDH and Magic's still going to be around?
And play more 60 card? I think it's possible.
Okay.
What do you think?
In terms of, I think everything has a breaking point, right? And I think particularly people are being more and more price conscious. Like it's not getting cheaper. The card quality is getting worse.
Yeah.
There's a lot of sort of eyes on EDH as a format and by Hasbro to make money, but also I think you can only take people for granted so long before they start to maybe lose interest or do their own thing. I think the emergence of pre-modern and the growing popularity of that, I think, sort of indicates that there is a kind of player who actually is quite nostalgic and wants to play slightly differently, a slightly different form of Magic.
Slightly different power level.
Maybe, but also just like old cards and the way things were, like nostalgia.
I think the nostalgia is a big driver. I don't think price is a thing. Have you seen the price of like crazy pre-modern staples or what's happening?
Like what?
True, yeah.
Like Mox Diamond is now crazy prices,
Mox
right?
Diamond was never low though. Right?
Yeah, but now you gotta get it. Like, I don't know if that's actually played, but there's cards like that, right? Where you gotta get it and you gotta get the old version, right? You can't, oh no, how dare you get the new version and play pre-modern.
Yeah.
It's not a price thing anymore. People want to play the game, right? I felt like pre-COVID, wallet fatigue was a huge conversation where it isn't so much now, right?
I think it's now more than ever.
It is, but people start talking about it. That's no longer the complaint. Those people, we've already lost them. They've gone.
Yes, I think that's partly true. I think that we've lost a good amount of people that were very price conscious. They've already left the game.
Yes.
But I think the next wave of price consciousness is coming. Like I'm feeling it already, like just from people around me.
I think you were sort of mentioning not sure about what the name of it is. And I think there's a lot of intangibles. For me, when we're talking about doing this podcast, what I kind of wanted to explore was I'm really into EDH, or I was really into EDH. But I've noticed over the past few years, my interest in it has been dropping. Even in just the number of games I've been playing has significantly dropped. And I kind of wanted to explore why my interest has waned and some of the things that I've noticed.
Sure.
So
when did you start tracking
my games or whatever?
Yeah, your games.
I track my games for a few years now, and it's very simple. I write down the names of all my decks, and I make a mark next to them of time I played the deck or time the deck won. And the main reason to do it is basically to see that a deck isn't winning too often, isn't too over the top. I might need to tune it to see if there are decks that I'm not playing with, and maybe I take those apart or maybe repurpose them. So I've been doing that for years, but I was looking through my books, and I can't remember the exact figures, but 3 years ago it was something like I'd played like 300 and odd games. Last year I played like in the high hundreds, low 200s. And then this year so far, I've played like 50 or 60 games or something. So it's like a steady drop.
For the last 3 years.
And I used to play every Sunday.
Yeah.
I used to always go, used to play, used to really make it part of my week. And now I maybe go once a month, if that, and so on. So I'm just sort of interested in a game I love. And my interest in Magic hasn't dropped. I play as much Limited as ever did. But previously, if there was a choice between playing Limited or EDH, I'd choose EDH. Now I choose Limited every time. So I think that's interesting.
Well,
and
why do you think you're choosing Limited?
I think it's better.
The dark side, yes.
I'm clipping that 100%.
Yeah, I just think like when you're playing Limited, especially if you've got a cool group, as we do have in Shanghai, we have a great Limited group, a great community. I think that basically, when you're playing limited, the rules are very clear. There's a set, quite often an interesting set that Dion's managed to curate for us or find online. We normally play things that aren't on Arena. We play some really cool draft formats. And it's a good laugh. And the rules are clear. You draft the packs and you try to kill each other 1v1. And out of the 8 players, somebody emerges victorious with a 3-0 record. And there's lots of niche, interesting interactions that can happen as a result of that. And I think with EDH, more and more, it's not always clear what the purpose is. Like, is the purpose to win? Not really, I don't think. It's sort of meant to be social. It's meant to be enjoyable. There's sort of an obligation, I feel, for everyone to have a good time. So it's more and more nebulous, I think, what a good EDH game looks like. And we've talked about this on this podcast before a few times.
Yeah, quite a few times.
But increasingly, I come away from playing EDH where I could have gone for a whole 5-hour session of playing EDH, and I leave in a worse mood than I arrived. Or, I enjoyed the people, I enjoyed it, but the games were annoying. There was something that got to me, like I was facing, like a Transformers deck, or an
SpongeBob.
entire. Or I was annoyed by my own deck. I got the Doctor Who decks, and they're so annoying. Like every card is new. Like and it's confusing, and people don't know what's happening, and they ask, and then So increasingly, I just find it. While I love EDH and I still play it, I just play it less, and I think there's a bunch of these that maybe have an impact.
What's your take on EDH right now?
Right now,
Yeah.
like our EDH or like
Our
global?
EDH.
Well, we have the similar problems in like the limited group. We struggle to get 8 people. Numbers are down across the board. Is this a Magic thing? Is this a Shanghai thing? Like, Shanghai is notorious for people coming and going, but it seems that groups are splintering, right? People don't like playing with other people for whatever reason. And it's happening in EDH and limited, right?
It's happening in both groups.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then I visit like other bigger stores, and I was at Buban the other day, and they had like 30 people for CEDH, which seems great, fantastic.
So if you both had to curate, or I wouldn't say curate, what do you think the important points are for an ideal group, whether it be EDH or limited?
I think like people have to be on the same page. I think people have to have a natural, because it's a social game for EDH. I think there has to be like a banter, an enjoyment of spending time with those people around. There has to be a kind of agreement of the power level that people are playing at, I think, and people have to be sort of trusted at their word for that. I think first and foremost it becomes about the group and the vibe more than the game. I would say with EDH, because the game itself is deeply flawed. The game is flawed, like, and it's so contradictory. Like,
10 poison counters is not enough. That's so flawed.
We spoke last time, right, about the best games of EDH is when it actually becomes a real game of Magic, when 2 people are dead and then it's 2 people up against each other, right?
I kind of disagree, actually.
You're allowed to, but I'm gonna finish making my point. I feel that those for me are the games that I most enjoy, where
it comes down to 2 people.
Yeah,
and they're struggling it out.
But that's my own preference. I like, people ask me what's your win con, and I don't really ever have them. I always have survive cons. And I want to make it to the end game and close it out. That's my my idea. But not everyone likes that. Some people just love, okay, my win con is Crater Hoof Behemoth,
right?
And I'm going to kill you all in one turn. That's also fine. You disagreed. Go on.
I think the core is kind of in that same vein. In EDH is enjoyable playing against people you want to hang out with, right?
Yeah, 100%.
But I find this kind of weird coming from you, because you're like, oh my god, I'm going to travel to Beijing to play with complete strangers.
Yeah, that's far less enjoyable. It's far less enjoyable than playing with our group of friends.
Then why do you do it? What is enjoyable about that experience?
Because, have you guys heard my rant about always needing new friends?
No.
Sure.
I 100% believe that if you don't constantly market yourself and have like a friend funnel, then you're only doing subtraction. And eventually you'll be all alone and friendless.
Got a friends max it.
So I try my best to continuously feed that funnel, finding new people, like David's leaving Shanghai. I'm losing a core person in my life. And I would like to have a friend slot into that group, into, my core group of friends. But in order to do that, I need to fill that top of the funnel and then keep filtering until I get to someone who I can fill David's shoes. And that's difficult. So I need to consistently be out looking for people that kind of fit that role.
Don't you think, though, that naturally...
No.
No?
100%.
But in Shanghai, you would?
Nope. I think you have to actively go out and you just have to actively be open to having new friends.
Well, no, I agree with that. Yeah. But that doesn't answer Dion's question about going all the way to Beijing, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because you're not going to be like, you're cool, come to Shanghai and play with my group.
But those friends, if they're ever in Shanghai, will then be like, hey, I'm in Shanghai. Let's hang out. And who knows?
So EDH is your main form of meeting people in new cities?
Not. Oh, God, no. So the reason I asked the question about your ideal friend group or your ideal play group is I think there are really 2 points to it. One, the group has to be big enough. It has to be able to fire, right? And it has to have enough diversity where games are consistently interesting. I think that's one.
I think diversity in personalities, right? You can kind of smooth out people's odd edges if there's enough people in the group, active and...
I don't know if I agree with that.
Because you can accept people's flaws. If it's a same 4 people every day, right? Then it gets boring. But if you have a group of, 12, and then people can slot in and out,
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
That helps.
Yes. But I think having a core group that consistently will fire.
Yes, reliable.
And diverse enough. Whether they, one person has 30 decks or, you just have a good amount of people with a good amount of decks where you're playing diverse games. And then the second one is that everyone communicates. And I think that's so difficult for Magic players. I think most Magic players are very introverted. I just want to play the game. I don't want to talk to you guys. Which is why EDH is so difficult. I think they really pushed that rule 0 because they realized that the players are kind of introverted and don't really want to talk to each other. So they forced that conversation. But I think if we all just sat down and hey guys, I didn't really enjoy that game. Let's not do that again. If there were more of those conversations, I think the play group would be much healthier.
I think the feedback is more important than the rule 0, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Sometimes there's a new person joins the group and you got to tell them and hey, that wasn't okay. Right? I didn't like casting Joggle Hops, for example, at some point in time.
That's what a jerk.
I know. You got to stand up for yourself there in that position, right? But there's a way to gently let people know.
Yes.
Right? But you can't just be like, oh, rule 0, by the way, my deck has this card and this card. That bogs it down. None of the games I play, people are like, yes, let's talk 30 minutes about our decks.
No way. I think rule 0 is more for me when I go to Beijing.
Yeah.
You play with people you don't know, that rule 0 becomes very useful.
But that's what I think the bracket system has done well. Just give me a number.
I did.
There's so many simultaneously opening cans of worms.
I go for whichever one you want.
All right, I'll go for the rule 0 versus feedback and relate it to my previous point, but maybe bring in something slightly different, which is that when you're constantly meeting new people or you're in a position where there's new people joining all the time, it can actually be a little bit exhausting to sort of litigate your experience. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the reasons why I tend to now mainly play EDH with people I know that I enjoy playing EDH with. It's not even know and like, it's that I enjoy playing Magic with them. I do like them. That's by the by. I do. But it's quite tiring. I used to be quite active in welcoming everybody in Shanghai. Mm-hmm. And when we were over at Cactus rather than in a game store, we kind of had a bit more control over our group, but I would make sure that everyone was on the same page. And that was quite tiring sometimes.
Very tiring.
Because you'd have to take the time to explain to people why our group was the way that it was, etc. Mm-hmm. And I think there's so much of that now with EDH where you kind of have to litigate the experience you have. And the bracket system is flawed in a way because, like, it still heavily relies upon people being honest. Like,
sure,
you can say, oh yeah, my deck's a 2. But if your commander's Vivi, but just because it's not a game changer,
right,
you can sort of game it and say, yeah, this is a 2, but actually you can make a really, really strong deck. So it's still relying on people being honest about the true power level of their deck. And it's just tiring. Compared to Limited, it's just so tiring to track all of that.
Yeah.
When with Limited, it's like, we're opening these packs, we're going to play, we're going to have fun, someone's going to win, it's going to be awesome.
Correct.
And I think more and more, that's sort of why I gravitate towards it.
You're making the bad player argument, right? You're saying that there are people who actively try to game the system.
No, I'm not doing that. I'm more referencing that as something that, you know, is exhausting to litigate.
Yeah.
And I think, to be honest, I think the EDH that we value within our smaller community is actually a bit of an abomination compared to most of EDH.
I agree.
I think most of EDH, if I go into like a store in my hometown, I think most people will be playing at a higher power level with staples.
Same.
And I think that because what we created, we really valued, I think in some ways, we're sort of trying to hold on and preserve that. Mm-hmm. But increasingly, it's hard to do that because there's so much new product. That's another can of worms, but, you know, we'll get to it. There's so much new product all the time. There are so many, and as well, there's so many more functional reprints or additions to certain strategies. There was a Command Zone episode recently, which has been referenced by other podcasts, but I think it's worth bearing in mind, which is that, you know, for instance, Landfall, playing lands from the graveyard used to be something that only 2 cards would let you do, Crucible of Worlds and Ramanak Excavator.
Yeah.
I think I said that word wrong, but whatever. But in the previous few years, there's been like 7 or 8 new versions of that card printed,
right?
Which just makes that deck tick so much more effectively.
It's no longer singleton format.
That was the argument that the video was making.
Yeah.
But that constant level of, okay, new cards, and also the idea that, oh, you shouldn't play that anymore, this is an upgrade. The content creators like Command Zone did that a while ago, where they said 3 mana rocks are unplayable, you need to switch to 2 mana rocks.
Right.
I really hated that because that just, I don't know, I have a very uneasy relationship with content creators because they sort of live and die on outrage, right?
Yeah.
For the most part.
Yeah.
Like, I can't believe they did this. Oh, you definitely should do this. Oh, why are they making us do this? And it generates clicks, right? And it keeps them in jobs. Good for them. But it's bad for the overall game, I think.
I think so too.
I think all these things have made the game less appealing.
Wow.
But I'll still play the game, just not as often. And with, you know.
But a lot of what you're talking about is like the features of EDH. It's too easy to play EDH. And so it's going to bring in people who, you know, misrepresent the deck as a big gripe, right?
Is it easy to play EDH?
Isn't that the funnel for new players these days? Oh, look, I bought my nephew a Magic
Precon.
deck and then Precon. It's only EDH decks, right?
Yeah.
And then you go to a store and you can't be like, hey, you want to play a casual game of Standard? No, you just join a pod, right?
Yeah.
And like, that's how it is. I'm seeing even though I've never played CEDH, I'm seeing the appeal for the same reasons you're saying you're preferring Limited, right? We go there, we know we're going to all haggle. I was going to say haggle over Ristic Studies and smothering tights, but we're all there for the same thing, right? Whereas...
And also the card pool for that's much smaller because all the decks are very tuned and there's a very clear meta, right? Like, you play a game of CDH, you know you're going to see Flusterstorm, you know you're going to see Ristic Studies, Smothering Dive, you know you're going to see, I don't know, I don't
Demonic
really...
Consultations.
Yeah, things like, you know you're going to see Thassa's Oracle. It reduces everything to a much more manageable and understandable card pool, I think. You know, there is of course some nuance and some ability to experiment, but it feels like it's a much smaller card pool than
the general population.
Yeah, I would say.
Yeah.
I might be wrong on that, and I'm sure. I mean, CDH players do not, and they're not shy about telling you when you're wrong. So I'm sure they'll point it out. But you know,
but there's almost an angle where you say you would enjoy that, like not having to know, like all these differences between all the doctors, right?
Do you know, I think I would enjoy it if it wasn't a deeply flawed game, which is that, like, Magic, at its heart, is a two-player game, I think. And I think that CEDH, like that, I like the idea of dual commander much more than CEDH.
Really?
Much more.
Okay.
Yeah. Much more. Because, I mean, you've seen the whole nonsense online about CEDH tournaments and 17 hours to resolve a stack and people lying and apologizing for lying. And it's weird. It's deeply weird.
Yeah, there was a lot of content about CEDH ending up being draws more often than not. Because it was easier to king make and then create a draw as opposed to actually win.
And it also brings in, I think, a lot of unnecessary emotion.
Sure.
Whereas 1v1, like, you know, if you have a bad game, you can blame, like, you have the out of blaming yourself. Like, if you're in a terrible mood, you can say, "Oh, you were lucky, and I was mana screwed," and it's variance. You know, if you're feeling defensive, you can do that. Whereas in CDH, someone will actively betray you and you know, go back on their word and or whatever. And I think it's stressful, like, potentially. That being said, again, I'm not a fan of CDH. The games I've played have been unsatisfying, but it doesn't mean that that's, you know, people like it. I don't want to take away from that.
But then I've got other formats that, like, as an Australian, 7-point Highlander, I'm seeing a lot of appeal. It's essentially the same thing. No commander, 60-card singleton. Yeah, and doesn't that solve a lot of the issues you're talking about?
Yeah, and Cade, he ran
Canlander.
Canadian Highlander thing, and I love that. I thought it was brilliant. A really good day. Yeah.
But there's just not enough people that would play it. Not enough people have the decks, which means you don't get enough variance in, like, card pool, and just people don't. The player pool is not big enough.
Yeah, I think it's a difficult one because I'm really invested in EDH, and I still really enjoy playing when I play. And I don't want to sort of do it down at all. I'm just sort of saying that we should acknowledge its flaws. And the thing that, for me, makes it worth playing is you get to hang out with your friends, have a good time, and play some Magic. Some games will be good, some will not. But I think, you know, if I look at my notebooks and all the games that have been played, I'm not going to the shop and playing on a Sunday anymore. And I used to do that all the time.
Right. And I'm the same.
We make choices based upon our interests, right? And exploring why that is, I think, is interesting.
Because it went severely down after we moved away from Cactus. I think Cactus, Shanghai EDH group was peak. It was the best times. We had the best group, and it continuously fired, of course. But, like, everyone knew the unspoken rules. I think that's what it was.
I wasn't happy of telling people to go wash their hands before, like, they eat their meal and open a pack of cards for limited.
Right.
So the unspoken rule thing might be a bit of a blur there.
maybe you should have spoken up about some of those. But yes, I agree. But I think the environment of Cactus was a barrier to entry for a lot of people. Like, some people just didn't want to play in a Mexican restaurant. And it brought in, I think, the right people. I think the spikier players will always lean towards a card shop. And the less kind of, the casuals ended up at Cactus because people were getting drunk and playing games.
The priority was bad tacos, beer, and a few games of Magic.
Correct.
Potentially, yeah.
Popcorn chicken on the table and just magic.
So it's the vibe, not the community-driven aspect?
I think the vibe took people, was just a barrier to entry. Like, I think people that wanted real games, quote, real games of Magic.
Real games, yes.
Would end up at a card shop where there's a prize pool, where there's, you know, sleeves if you need. Like, you had none of that at Cactus. You would just people getting wasted and hanging out with friends.
Well, also on the topic of feedback, one thing I've tried to ask people in the limited group is that, where do people want to play?
Yeah.
I've asked people, and some people don't like that. Oh no, the store offers prizes at essentially a markup. I like the store having a space that, like, we can meet at, that's safe. There's not going to be spilled drink, chaos, store Cactus, do you remember one time they were like, there was a wedding or something and we couldn't play?
There's a wedding?
There was a wedding.
That's hilarious.
So they booked out the whole thing. So there's nothing like that, right?
There was one time we went and it was just me, Casey, and a couple of other players. We went just a random night to play, a 4-pod or whatever. And we got caught in a battle between Russian trivia night and a ukulele choir.
Ukulele choir is hilarious.
Oh my goodness. And it was... Cactus was just this weird, because it was right next to the sports field. It was like this. It was like the Mos Eisley Cantina.
Oh, 100%.
Like,
100%.
like loads of random special interest groups.
Yeah.
And the wait staff were lovely, but they would never serve you.
Yeah.
And the manager was crazy. There was a particularly vicious dog that lived there that attacked any Waimai person who came in. It was a strange place.
It was. I think it fit our group perfectly.
Yeah.
That's why I loved it.
Oh, but I do remember the Russian trivia ukulele choir thing, and we as well. We were just playing, and we were told to shush during the music round, and brilliant.
But I think that barrier to entry is important, which is something I've been on a lot of places talking about. Is just I really enjoy having a little bit more gatekeeping. I think gatekeeping the game should have started way earlier. Like, we didn't realize that we were in a, what do you call it? Like a
golden
really
age.
Golden age. And we should have realized sooner and gatekeep that golden age for longer.
So are you mad at the people who like posted on Reddit, oh, we meet at Cactus?
Yes.
And
in hindsight, I think we should have gatekept a little bit more. And it only got worse when we moved. I think when we moved to Joe's, and I love Joe's, but when we moved to Joe's, it was more difficult to gatekeep. Because we were in a card shop. Sometimes you lacked, like a pod lacked players and just like you shove people in. As opposed to be like, let's play with the people we want to play.
in some ways, I feel like Joe's store compared to others is more gatekept. Like, you can't just turn up randomly because it's not going to be open on random days. And, and it's like a kind of a, if you know, you know, right?
We literally have the code to the gate.
Yeah, things like that. Whereas the bigger stores, they have too many people almost. Like,
Yeah.
So back to what I was saying, like about the limited, one person's point was, it was the vibe. I was like, they wanted to have beers and draft. And it's like, we just go buy beers. And they're like, no, I want to order beers.
Yeah, it's different.
So they'd rather play it somewhere, with that.
David, you back me up on this, right? Having beers at a card shop is very different from at Cages or at Cactus.
It will come as no surprise to you, Arthur, that I like a beer.
Yeah.
And I do like a freshly pulled draft beer. I like the vibe. I like randomly being a bar and people coming over and talking to you and saying, what are you guys playing? And we've had new players. We've met new people as a result of that. I like that vibe. I like as well that it takes away from
the seriousness.
Yeah. But I also like an RCQ. I would hate an RCQ at a bar.
At Cactus? That would be
crazy, right?
Mayhem.
So that formalized setting can sometimes be really good, and I enjoy both. So I'm going to play pre-release this weekend. I'll definitely be playing in a shop, and I'll enjoy that. I'll enjoy the community of a pre-release there.
I agree with that.
But if I'm just meeting up with mates, main purpose is to see my mates and have a beer and have a laugh, and the cards come secondary.
Which is why I don't think that limited at Cactus is the best move. I think limited might be better at a card shop.
I think if you might agree, disagree, but I think our limited group's very casual. So I think they are. I mean, we're all good players, don't get me wrong, but ultimately, like, if we didn't want to see each other, we'd just play online. But we want to see each other. We want to play interesting formats. We want to chat. Like, the main thing that I take away from playing limited with these lot is there's always someone 15 minutes late. And beforehand, everyone's always chatting, talking about the new format, sharing their ideas.
Sure
We've got people in the group that have... No, it's true. We've got people in the group who've made cubes. We talk about these kind of things. It's a nice vibe, I think.
Sure.
And
there's a benefit in people being late all the time. But
well, no, I'm not saying it's a benefit.
He's saying that if it happens, like, people get along. Like, when I organize a draft, it's great. I know, like, okay, if I message David, he'll come, he'll respond quickly. I know Connor's usually up for it, despite even having 2 kids now, right? I know I can count on a bunch of people, right? And that's the reliable group we're talking about.
Yeah.
So we have a reliable, 4 or 5 people. It's pushing it to 8. That's a bit tough.
It's that last
these days.
3 that really,
yeah.
It can be a challenge, but like for example, you tend not to come to these because we usually host them in low IG. But for instance, Vincent and Damiano's Chaos Drafts and Alex's events that Alex arranges over at low IG, that those are usually pretty popular as well. And I think it's because they're a much more informal, situation. And also when people are drafting, normally there's a bit of, you're not meant to say anything that's in your pack or whatever, but there's a bit of repartee, like, oh, who's left this?
But that's my favorite part of draft.
Yeah.
Just because I can't believe this card came back.
But like in a game store, it's like silent, or mostly quiet,
Huh.
But isn't that about cultivating your own group and so on?
100%.
True.
So it's not entirely vibes based. Like,
No, I think cultivating your group is the most difficult part of the EDH game. And just being like, no, I don't want to play with you. Please, like, you can go play with other people. You just can't play with us.
Have you said that to anyone?
We have not formally. I'm sure we have. But I remember at Cactus, there was this guy that came in and contamination locked a bunch of people, a couple games.
Terrible.
And just no one ever played with him after that.
Or was that Quentin?
Yes.
Oh,
and
Quentin, if you're watching, I don't like you.
And
I like him as a person, but playing Magic with him, oh my god.
It was very obvious that nobody wanted to play, and he just stopped coming. Like, the dude just stopped coming.
So that's the way it's done, just like we shun them.
We shun those people. And I think that should be regulated. That should be normalized. Where if you are not playing the way that our group wants to play, you don't get to play with us.
But that requires on them, like, getting the hint, right?
Yes, some Magic players don't get the hint. I agree with that.
I can share a personal example here.
Go for it.
This might be uncomfortable for us both, but I arranged a Christmas event one time.
Yeah.
We can talk about this.
Hear me out. I arranged a Christmas event. First time I did it, and everybody had to bring a deck that was a gift for someone else.
Yeah.
And
Budget deck.
And I was very much of the understanding that everyone had played with me for a while. They knew what I valued, and I was putting effort into making the event happen. I felt everyone sort of expects and knows, what would happen. Anyway, someone who will remain Dion brought a Tergrid discard deck.
Yeah.
And Gabbo brought a mass land destruction mono red deck.
I heard about this one too.
And I had to face both decks in round 1 because they'd been gifted to people I was playing against. And I was playing a derpy food deck that James had made for me.
Wonderful.
And I was so angry. I wouldn't talk to Dion for about 2 months. I was just really angry.
I remember sitting at the other table and then you loudly screamed, "Wow, that's the worst game of Magic I've ever played."
I was so...
But you say this with such a smile on your face.
I know.
The roast into
I
goggles.
have done work on myself,
At the
Dion.
time,
I was
David was not
furious.
okay.
I was absolutely spitting feathers angry.
Aren't we
about
all
it.
better for it now, though?
No.
My defense, I had not played EDH in effectively 10, 15 years. And I was like,
Yeah, that's...
I have no context. Is Tergrid that bad?
Yes.
Apparently so.
Wait.
Apparently so.
Wait, but now you understand why, right?
Oh, because other people are bad deck builders.
That is not.
Oh, my blood pressure. I'm just triggered.
The way I've explained it is that David was not clear on what fun meant.
Accepted.
I think he mentioned fun multiple times, but fun is not a quantifiable way to build a deck, right? Fun is just, it means something different to you as it does to anyone else. So fun is, it's so hard to be like, make the deck fun.
Well, that's been your defense against me, right?
Yeah, where I believe Dion heard $50 limit and he was just like, well, I can do that.
Actually, what I heard that I took to core when you were thinking about it, you were like, oh, I have a bunch of cards I can make a deck. And that's what I was looking at. I was like, oh, I have this bunch of cards and a Tergrid lying around. Look, all these Tergrid pieces are so cheap. Ravenous rats, 10 cents.
I understand the mindset. Like, to me, it made sense. I can understand what you were thinking at the time.
Thank you.
You didn't think in terms of David, which is the empathy was necessary for that deck. And I think that empathy is very necessary in a play group where you're like, oh, I understand what this person wants to do. I have my win con in hand. I'm just gonna let them do what they want to do. And I think that happened a lot at Cactus, where I was just like, I think I can win this game. And I chose not to win this game because I saw that Marshall had been building up his deck for the last 3 turns, and he wants to attack, just let him attack. And I think that level of empathy, if you want to call it that, is very important for a play group that no longer has that feeling.
And I think it's worth pointing out as well that here we're exposing some of the flaws of the game.
Sure.
Why the game is flawed. Because what Dion did is right.
Yeah.
What I'm thinking is wrong.
Correct.
But I was
but it was also
really
your
angry.
Event.
Huh?
It was your event.
Yeah, but do you know what I mean? But like, if you look at the cold, hard facts, Dion's more right than me. No question.
Sure.
But I feel most people, if I asked them, they would sympathize with me more. Maybe it's because I'm asking them and they don't, like, I look very angry.
You're not going to say it to your face.
But you know what I mean? But like, if you look at the cold, hard facts, similarly, if you're playing the game optimally, you totally should go for the win and screw their feelings. But because you understand that it's much more about the vibes and the fun, you do what you do. And that is both the charm of the game, but also the flaw of the game, in a way. That's not going to happen in CEDH, right? You take your chance. Maybe that's why it's so popular.
Yeah.
Especially, you've mentioned before, some people struggle to grasp the social cues, and maybe that's,
I feel like that's a bit of a feature, not a bug of the format.
I would agree. And when I say flaw, I mean, I'm looking at it structurally rather than morally, I suppose, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah. But I mean, do you get that? Like, when you play EDH, do you get that, like, just let them do what they want to do?
So that was part of my tragic villain backstory. No. But since then, I've learned that, like, I've divorced that aspect of winning. Like, to me, it's crazy that you guys keep track. Oh, this deck has won whatever, how many games it played. It's like,
in order to tune it down.
Is that relevant?
Yeah.
Because I would just not win the game instead. I have decks that are just pretty much incapable of winning. Like, I found that has brought me more joy and make the games more enjoyable with the people, right? Like, it sucks when you don't get to play the game because your mana screwed. So, hey, I made a commander, Curtain, where we'll vote and you can draw cards and you can figure it out. Like, involve more people, but it's not trying to win the game.
Yeah, I should point out as well that tracking the games, it's not like some sort of like murder board situation where I'm staring at it and figuring everything out. It's much more, I played this deck, tick, I played this deck. It's very casual. It's purely just, okay, did it win, did it not? If I've got a deck that's won like 8 out of 9 games, that's a red flag for me, as being like, okay, this is maybe taking the piss a little bit. How am I winning these games? Is it fun for my opponents? Blah blah blah. And sometimes you build a deck. What's really tough, I think, sometimes is you build a deck. You're really excited about it. You think it's really cool, but your opponents just hate it, and you're like, oh, that kind of makes me feel bad because I put all that effort in. But because you want to have a good game rather than a good deck, you switch things. Yeah.
How much do you think just being charming lets you get away with doing mean things?
Oh, I wouldn't know about that.
That's not true.
Because I'm resolutely uncharming. So
I'm convinced that the more charming you are in the group, and the fewer games that you win, you're allowed to do more mean things in the group.
I mean, everyone, like, if you ask people, which of my decks do you like the most, they'll usually choose one they can beat. Yes. That's for sure. Yeah. Like, I really like your Salamander deck. Oh, yeah.
Because it never wins.
It never does anything. Yeah. Or, the deck
it gives everyone additional resources, and then they're just like, oh.
I think there is an element of that. We used to have an amazing player. This is going back. Do you remember Adam?
A long time ago.
Remember
yes,
Adam?
I remember Adam. Adam never won.
Adam was really funny, and he was kind of like, he was almost like a D&D story master in a game, and he would like make Vidalcan decks, and every Vidalcan he would play, he would tell its backstory.
Yep.
And
that sounds awful.
But I really enjoyed playing with Adam.
He was great. He never won. He didn't care.
Never won.
I don't think he ever attacked. Like, he just...
So, bracket one only.
No,
Yeah.
he was.
No,
He was
clearly
absolutely
bracket 1, bracket 2 at the most.
Everyone wanted to play Adam, and it's not because they wanted to win. It's just he was such a fun presence, and he didn't show up very often. He was. It's like just randomly appeared in a puff of smoke and with his Vidalcan decks. He was great.
I don't see those, but I don't see those players in games. Period anymore. Like those players almost now have been pushed out of the format.
Why do you think that is?
I think part of it's product fatigue, like we were talking about before.
I can't play my pet deck anymore because they printed 7 Crucible of the Worlds upgrades.
It's not even just that. I think that their pet deck, even though it didn't win before, every once in a while it had a chance to win. And I think it's just the chance to win now is 0 for those decks.
I think it still exists, but I think in smaller, like for instance, myself and Lionel, we would have very bad pet decks.
Sure.
And we would have a game where, okay, we're going to play our crap decks. And those games were really fun. They took ages. I think it is very possible. But I think you've got to really be clear on the power level. Wizards tried to do that with bracket 1. But, a lot of people don't want to play at bracket 1, actually. A lot of people would rather be playing at bracket 2, bracket 3, bracket 4.
Sure.
So it's quite rare to get those sort of games in. I think the closest you get is like a pre-con battle. But even now, some of the pre-cons are very strong.
Very good.
Stronger than, they're in bracket 3 power level, even though maybe they don't have any game changes. Yeah.
I mean, when was the last time you had a bracket conversation? I haven't had one in forever. But it's because I choose the people that I play with. And once you choose the people that you play with, you're just like, hey, I'm bringing out this deck. Oh, okay, I kind of know where you're at. Well, I'm going to play this deck. And there's no bracket conversation. It's not necessary.
I do it beginning of every game, even with people I'm aware
Really?
of. Yeah. But it's not a conversation. It's more of a declaration. It's like, I'm playing this. It's bracket 2. It can be quite fast. It can probably hold with bracket 3 decks.
Right.
Yeah, pretty much beginning of every game.
I want more bracket conversations.
Really?
Yeah. Like, I like that they've given us a framework to do it, right? But I think that, like, people missing the floor of it, right? You guys are talking about, like, oh, this is strength of the deck, right? But you yourself as a player can hold back, oh, I don't need to, like, do the mean things. And I think that's, for example, a big difference between bracket 3 and 4. Bracket 4 is like playing limited. Oh, I'm going to kick you while you're down, Arthur, so you can't get back in the game. I will blow up your lands.
Yeah.
Whereas you can't do that in 3. But that also means that I can have a bracket 4 deck, conceivably, but not play it in a bracket 4 style and bring it down, right? Like, I have decks that, sure, technically the bracket whatever, but I can just not do the optimal things. I can make it more enjoyable for people as part of my plaything. You said this, oh, I'll let you win. I'll let you go off with your big board, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's independent of your deck power.
So
I've had to sandbag. Like, why are we playing to win? It's like winning doesn't mean I had fun in EDH. Like, you guys even said that. It's not about the winning. It's about, like, oh, we had that tense top deck battle. It was just down to me and him. Do you remember who won?
No. I very
Doesn't
rarely
even
remember
matter.
who won. I just remember, that was a cool
Yeah,
game.
that was tense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Notebook remembers.
I get that.
That's just how I feel. And I understand that most people don't feel that way.
Yeah. I just think that curating the group of people where you no longer need to have that conversation is an ideal that I strive for, right? I think that if you have a core group of just 8 players that everyone kind of knows everyone's decks and there's not a ton of pressure to add the new cards that are coming in, it makes for very good games because you're just like, I know what that deck does, kind of.
I'm going to disagree.
Okay. Let me finish.
Yeah.
But I know what that deck does. We're all playing at this rough power level. I don't have to have that conversation with this person. And we can just ready go. And to me, that feels more like we're friends as opposed to, oh, we're playing a game. What are you going to say?
I was going to disagree. Just because I don't think you lose much by having a very quick bracket conversation. Mm-hmm. And I think you have the potential to gain stuff in terms of potential field bats. So, for instance, you bring a new deck, you bring this deck, and it does marvelously. It absolutely dominates the game from start to finish.
Sure.
the people who are on the
Highly
receiving
unlikely.
end of that, even if they're your best mates, like they're gonna feel a bit like, oh, that's kind of crappy. Like
Yeah.
that he really just murdered us with that. But it could just be that he drew a Sol Ring followed by ramp followed by his card draw engine.
Yeah.
He just ran
Just a
away
lucky
with
game.
it. But at the start of the game, just saying this is a new deck. I've got no game changers. Bracket 2. I'm trying it out. I think by saying all of those things, like you are kind of setting your stall out honestly, and the people who are feeling bad, they can then make the connection like, oh, that was just lucky.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Whereas, like, I think sometimes if you don't do that, people might be a bit.
I don't think we're mutually exclusive here. I believe that that's true for new decks.
Oh yeah,
I think once people know your decks, then it's okay. But for a new deck, I think it's important to introduce. Just to be like, hey, this is something new that I've been playing with. I don't know where it's going to go either. It just might kill everyone, or it might, be okay.
Yeah, and where I'd agree with you as well is that because the brackets aren't perfect, it is something that if you can move away from, if you can just talk about your deck in general, if it's a situation like this deck is a teamer, it's big splashy, plays big spells, ramps. If you can do that, then that's great as well, even, But yeah, just showing up, playing the game with friends, also good. I agree.
Yeah. When you play EDH, how do you pick your decks? Like which deck to play?
I currently have a favorite deck. It's a Plaga Nasari, and like that's the deck I would default to the most because it does fun things. There's no solid plan. It's just a bit of random stuff. Like the last time I played it, I just drew Dracu sets and just like burned people. Like that's what EDH should be, right? I haven't done the optimal stuff. I've got a slight mishmash of themes, some anti-synergy, and that's how I approach it now, right? It's tiring to try and optimize every single facet. And I just don't do that and just don't let that get to me, right? I don't have to be like, oh, look, new set just dropped. I have to upgrade my, I don't know, removal spell. But you don't have to. But I feel like that's the back to your complaints about content creators. That's what they have to do. Oh, you have to buy this new card.
Yeah.
Look at this crazy card that combos with blah. Like, but you don't have to. And that's what Wizards' business model is based on. The FOMO, right? Oh,
yeah.
How you're going to play EDH and you don't have the latest cards from Secrets of Strixhaven? Oh my god. But I got the latest blah, blah, whatever. Like, just play whatever you want to play and don't let it get to you.
But I mean, it's funny. I can bring this up now. I remember right when we moved to Joe's, I think Lionel said something, and I know he said it not in a mean way, but it hit me kind of hard. He was like, he said, you're playing that deck again. And he meant it like you should have more decks in rotation. And I really wanted to play that deck. And I was like, man, do I not have enough decks? And even as someone who doesn't really like FOMO a lot, that comment like kind of hurt. I was like, shit. And it was coming from Lionel, who was building a lot of decks at the time. And I know he didn't mean it in a mean way, but it was just not, I was not building decks at the speed that he was building decks. And so he made an offhanded comment. And even if it's not from a content creator, it actually hurts more from your like friends, just to be like, oh, you're still playing that deck, or, oh, you haven't, like it actually hurts sometimes more from your friends. And yeah, sure, like content creators do that, but like I wish I could just be like, hey, yeah, this deck hasn't changed in, a year. I still like playing this. Let's just do this.
I have decks I haven't upgraded since Scars of Mirrodin. It's an infect deck.
God.
And I'll just like keep it in that time capsule.
Yeah.
I think I upgraded land and added the Triome though.
And that was it.
Yeah.
You try hard. But that's a particular thing about you. Like, for instance, you really like making a deck and then playing with it a bunch of times and getting better at playing it, figuring out the synergies.
Sure.
You're not shy of a combo. You quite like the odd, strange combo. So I think that's something you find interesting. What I would say is, for opponents, if they're facing the same deck at the same time, they can sometimes feel like, I'm a little weary of playing against that deck. that has impacted my own process before, in that I always bring different decks, but also if I've got a deck and then somebody else in the group makes that deck and they're playing with it a lot,
I'm off of it.
I take my deck apart just because I've got so many decks to play, and I've far too many decks, but I sort of veer between different strategies anyway.
Yeah.
And I'm never investing any money in a new deck ever. I've just got a large collection that I rotate cards in and out of, and any cards that I get that are new, usually I've picked them up as a single, or I have drafted them and got them in a draft or a prize pack or something. So the money side isn't an impact there. But I would say in a situation like that, like you've got like nothing to be worried about. Like people will still enjoy playing against you, and so long as you've got like 2 or 3 decks and you vary it out for 1 or 2 games, I think it's fine. If it's a really mean deck, if it's like that deck always wins, and we've got then but that's not your style really.
So that's how you gatekeep the format, right? You have to have 3 decks to join our play group.
I disagree.
I
think gatekeeping is important, but it shouldn't be monetary gatekeeping.
How do you do it then? Do we force everyone to play a draft and then you have to?
It was really funny because you really mentioned something last time we were having coffee. And you were saying how the Japanese gatekeep in line, right? Can you explain that?
I've just heard that, like, Pokemon's so big and all the scalpers, right? What do they do to stop you, who's not a Pokemon fan, lining up? They'll quiz you, and if you, like, fail to answer the basic Pokemon questions, they're just going to kick you out of the line.
Have you heard of this before?
No.
I find that hilarious, but also kind of reasonable.
Very reasonable, right?
I think if you don't know who Pikachu is, or if you don't know,
if you can't pick which one's Pikachu.
If you can't pick one's Pikachu, maybe you shouldn't be in this line. Don't go buy Pokemon cards.
They hold up that, who's that Pokemon shadow?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think that's a bad idea. Like, things like that to delineate who is a fan and who isn't, who fits this culture and who doesn't. I think that's kind of important.
So Cactus was your answer for that. If I want to grab beers with you, you're allowed to play.
You're probably okay. I don't think it's just Cactus. I also think that, like, I don't know, like, who is your commander? And to be fair, Lionel would not have passed that test. Like, the first time I played Lionel, and he'll admit to this, I asked him, hey, who is your commander? And he was like, Urza. And I was like, fuck, I don't want to play with this person. And he had, like, a somewhat decent Urza deck. And I was like, I have that in my comments. Like, I have comments or notes for each person in my WeChat. And it says, new EDH player, Commander, Urza. And that was it. And I was like, I don't want to play with this person. And he became a very regular player. So I'm glad that gatekeeping did not happen.
It's quite funny because Lionel came back recently to visit. And he spent about an hour talking to me about the difference in metas between
here in Singapore.
And one of the things that he said, David, something I've learned from being in Singapore is there's a new phase of the game called pre-game actions. And like, I think he was fully Shanghai EDH pilled by the end, making very strange random decks, and I think he misses that. So but this is partially as well why you've been talking about gatekeeping, and when I was in that position before at Cactus of being the one who was trying to arrange events, welcome people and so on, we welcomed a lot of new players, and we were able to encourage them to sort of play the way we play, and it was sustainable and good and enjoyable. But I think it's increasingly difficult to do that just with the amount of new products coming out. And also, like, I don't know, like, I think we sort of have to accept that was of its time.
Yeah.
There's no going back to that. Like, because even now I play mostly with my friends, and we still have bad games. We still have games where, it's, not that enjoyable. And also when we're thinking back, we're also thinking back nostalgically and idealistically.
Yes.
How many times did I get drunk and start shouting at someone?
Many. And those were some of my favorite nights. Some of my favorite nights was drunk David nights.
So while we remember all the great times and the enjoyable games and everything, and for me as well, when I was playing in Nanjing in the game store there with my friends in Nanjing, I think of it all really fantastic and idealistically, but there were still times where the games were rubbish, or you had a fallout with someone and you sorted it out afterwards, and all of that. You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube once it's come out. So I think there is a risk that we are kind of old men shouting at proverbial clouds with this a little bit. And ultimately, when it comes to gatekeeping and surrounding a community, you've mentioned yourself earlier in this podcast about the need to meet new people and to engage them.
Correct.
And there's gonna be people that are good and enjoyable, and some people who you don't like, and that's just the way it is.
And you need to cut them out. And I think that is something that we didn't do.
I gave this guy a chance and it turned out all right, but we need to cut people out harder and faster.
I think you're supposed to give people more than one chance.
Yeah.
I do believe in second chances, maybe even third chance. But at some point, you're just like, nope, I don't want to play with this person anymore. We're done.
And this is the way he thinks. So watchers, listeners, if you don't see me and Dion on this podcast anymore, you know what's happened. We've failed the test. We've failed
the vibe check.
We've pushed him too far.
You don't believe in gatekeeping?
I just don't think of it as I think we subconsciously gatekeep all the time.
Yes.
For instance, we hang out with someone, then they do something to piss us off, and we don't call them anymore.
Correct.
But I don't think of that as gatekeeping. I think of that as just like, it's almost natural.
Pruning the garden.
Yeah. No, that is exactly what it is.
Yeah.
But maybe it's a greater thing. It's like community building. How do you build a great community? Like
It's
that's
hard.
going to be part of it, right?
Yeah.
You got to bring in new people. You can't just say, no, we're full, gates closed, but you also can't. Yeah.
I had this conversation with David, and I related it to immigration into a country. And I don't believe you should have too many people too fast. I think if you have too many people come in too fast, your culture gets muddled. But if you have slowly adding people at like a drip pace, they will either adhere to your culture or leave. And so you have more of a say in your group. And so I prefer to have slow but steady people coming in and equally slow and steady people going out. And some people just coming in and bouncing right out because they just don't fit. As opposed to, oh wow, it's great to have, 20 more people come in. Well, we can't I don't want to use the word indoctrinate, but you can't allow 20 people to come in if your group is already 20 people, because they will just change everything that you love about this group. And that is what I think happened to our group. I think that our group grew too quickly, too fast, and we couldn't keep a hold of what made that group great. And that, I think, is that just kind of started the downfall.
So that's turned you off from EDH. You think that
It turned me off from playing with that group, now that much bigger group. And I would still prefer to play with my friends that were part of the old group. But that group is slowly, as Shanghai always does, deteriorating. So you need to add more people, just at a different pace. And I think maybe gatekeeping would include something like, hey, someone that I trust, like David, brought this new person in. I have David saying this person is good enough. Something like that really keeps the group more manageable, I think. Because if I get mad at this person, I'm going to be like, David, what the fuck? Why'd you bring the jerk?
So in your slightly right-wing immigration analogy,
very
we would be your trusted corporate sponsors.
I guess so.
We're bringing in this person. They're reliable. They won't suck from the state. They won't pillage our women and indoctrinate our children in this.
If
in
the
this
analogy
slightly
fits, yes.
I don't know if it fits, but I'm just checking.
I think it doesn't have to be like that, but it does. I see it more like a club, right? Like, I think country clubs, and I've never been a part of a country club, but from what I've heard...
With that hat?
The country club you have to have a sponsor before you can come in. And I think that
Someone
system,
vouches for you.
Yeah, someone who vouches for you. That system kind of works, as opposed to the doors open, everyone comes in.
But again, just to make it clear, like I play Magic mainly with my friends who were really like vouch, trusted, and so on. But there are still bad games of EDH.
Yes.
And there are still times when we disagree, as friends do. We have an argument or whatever, as friends do.
Not the Borg.
It's really like you can't really create a perfect utopia.
Impossible.
Because people bring their own shit with them as well. Like you've had a bad day, you just want to play some Magic and have some fun, and then your deck happens to have been turned off on turn 2 by something that just randomly hoses your deck that you can't get rid of.
Or you just had a bad draw. Like that happens, you know?
These this is why it is a very imperfect system.
But it's the best we have.
It's the best we have, yeah. Okay.
That's a good place to end it. I really appreciate you guys coming over.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Yeah.
I want to do this again at least a couple times before you're out of here.
Absolutely.
Doesn't have to be with Dion. We can kick him out if you want. I'm kidding. I actually, to be honest, I really enjoy this banter because I think we have very different outlooks on the game. So it was a lot of fun having both of you here. All right. I'll put this out at sometime this week or next week. Everyone, bye-bye.
Bye.
Do 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 do.